The Minnesota Vikings have decided it's time to push the chips in. They give up a 2023 second round pick and a 2024 third round pick in exchange for TJ Hockenson, the Detroit Lions tight end. They also get back a pair of fourth round picks, one of those being conditional, in an effort to bolster this passing game with Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, and not a ton else. Joining me now from Locked On Vikings, Luke Braun. Luke, this is a pretty talented offense, all things considered. Dalvin Cook in the backfield. You've got Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne out wide. So why go so strong on a tight end here?
Did they go that strong? I mean, a 2 and a 3 for 2 4s, or it could be a 4 and a 5 if they win a playoff game. I don't know. They moved down a couple rounds. It doesn't feel like they're exactly breaking the bank there. And I actually think it's an underpay for what TJ Hockenson brings to them. They want to live in 11 personnel. So they've got their 3 wide receivers. They've got their running back for that. Irv Smith is on IR with a high ankle sprain. They'd be in Johnny Munt land with that tight end. That's like clearly the weak link. TJ Hockenson is a huge upgrade over that, an upgrade over Irv Smith anyways. So that can be now like this principal personnel package that has all the versatility you could ever want and all the skill sets you could ever want. It doesn't feel like an all-in move to me, because there is definitely a world where TJ Hockenson becomes part of your future. And now you just spent future picks on something that is in your future. It's not like he's an 8-game rental. You know, he's under contract next year on his 5th-year option. And that's a great extension ground if you decide you want to go that way. TJ Hawkinson's the primary tight end for the Vikings for as long as they want it.
This has not been an offense that has featured the tight end, to be sure. How much of that is the players that they have, and how much of that do you think is by design?
It's the role. One of the most important things the tight end does, the tight end is a bit of a fulcrum in the run game, because they will block the defensive end one-on-one a lot. Like more than usual. Every team has their like duo runs package, and duo is a run play where the tight end blocks the defensive end. It's just how it works out. But even in their zone, they'll use that guy backside a lot. They'll have that tight end climb. That blocking is like a very big kind of joint in the armor, if you will. And so having a tight end that can't do that sort of has this ripple effect throughout the rest of the team. TJ Hockenson can do that. And that's huge to me, but he also is like a receiving weapon. He's very dynamic athletically. He has all the explosion that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah very clearly cares about. He has the ability to the hands you want, the size you want and all that stuff. So he can do everything. And so that doesn't mean that he suddenly becomes the focal point and he's Travis Kelce, but the role that he plays affects everything. Everyone on the offense is going to have a better season now that TJ Hockenson is playing next to him.
Well, I want to ask you about that, because Justin Jefferson, after torching the Green Bay Packers in week 1, has not been able to recreate that production over the last month and a half. So how does TJ Hawkinson's arrival open things up in the passing game for Justin Jefferson, and potentially vice versa?
It's so funny because Jefferson has gotten 100 yards in 3 of the last 4 games and 98 in the one where he did it. and that feels like quiet because our expectations have gone so high for him. But yeah, all the stuff I explained with the run game is going to translate into play action stuff, and the way that they can do play action protections, protect Kirk Cousins. Better protection is going to mean better opportunities for Justin Jefferson. It all just kind of like it's a domino effect, right? But also having TJ Hockenson be able to run clear outs from being an inline tight end will also clear out certain areas of the field that like Johnny Munt can't do that. Ben Ellefson can't do that. Irv Smith could, but he's both out and also wasn't on the field a lot because he was not as good of a blocker as Munt or Ellefson. So it was like this committee. It was also kind of a tell, you get your run blocking guy out there. It's probably going to be a run play. Irv Smith's out there, probably going to be a pass play. TJ Hockenson does it all and can just be the primary guy. So it's that much harder to read, that much harder to set up your defenses. And another weapon that you have to take a little bit more seriously than Johnny Munt. If Johnny Munt catches a ball in the flat, you can play 15 yards off of him and come up and make the tackle because he ain't making you miss. TJ Hawkinson's got a little bit, he's going to be able to chew up a little bit more of that. You can't exactly give him 15 yards of space and not expect that to turn into an 8-yard gain and maybe even break a tackle. So it forces corners to play things a little bit more honestly. And all of that is designed the way Kevin O'Connell has built the offense is designed to funnel into Justin Jefferson's stat line.
If the playoffs started today, the Minnesota Vikings would be the 2 seed in the NFC. There has been, I wouldn't say a vocal crowd, because I don't know, the Vikings are just not generating a lot of headlines before this trade, but there is certainly a perception, I think, among some that the record does not reflect the quality of the team. You were on Locked On Vikings recently, drinking the purple Kool-Aid, which I appreciated. Yeah. And so how does this affect the way that you perceive Minnesota in the NFC hierarchy?
Yeah, and I think that that's fair to, like, they don't feel the same 6-1 that the Bills do, right? Because there's a lot of games that were close, that were, you can kind of excuse away. You say, they got some calls in a couple of those games, the double doink, they let Justin Fields and the Bears come back on him 18 points. All that stuff, you kind of say, man, like that stuff feels pretty bad. And yeah, they did end up with all of those wins, but they're all close wins, and there's some randomness. They're a regression candidate, the scary R word.
Part of this is a regression from last year too, when they lost every one-score game they looked at.
It's like an overcorrection by the gods, and so that's all got to go back to medium, right? But at 6-1, if they regress to being a 500 team, that's an 11-7 season. So that's kind of what I've been saying on Locked On Vikings. And the Cardinals game, this Cardinals win, felt a little bit more real, a little bit more earned. They really truly outplayed them, and that was really good. That was why I was drinking that Kool-Aid. But whether they're ready to or not, whether they deserve to or not, they have the 2 seed locked up by a game and a half right now. That's 2 home playoff games if they can keep it, and they've got a lead on it. So whether or not they deserve to contend, they'll have an opportunity to. And so it's not necessarily about, keeping the record. We're not really watching the standings as closely as we are because of all the other NFC North teams falling apart in front of us. We're more thinking, okay, come January, how good will this team be? How much can they improve? How much can they learn, both by roster stuff and just by like improving amongst themselves? That is a little bit more the mentality now. They're going to get a chance to contend unless they fall apart horribly. What can they do with it?
Yeah, there is the great line from the Western Unforgiven: deserves got nothing to do with it. And in the NFL, no one is going to apologize for wins and losses. And so you bank those wins. At a certain point, it becomes a math problem. Like you're just going to get in. Luke, for more, people can check out you on Locked On Vikings. Check it out on the Locked On NFL YouTube page. And of course, check Luke out whenever he comes on Locked On Sports Today on YouTube, on the Odyssey app, and wherever you get podcasts. Thanks, Luke.